On my kicker tonight, I find news from the country's agriculture sector depressing by the day. For example, latest media reports indicate that there is an 18% drop in coffee farming, a drop attributed to loss of agricultural land to real estate development. Reports now say massive acres of land in the traditional coffee growing areas of Kiambu, Murang'a and Nyeri are now shifting from cash crop or even food crop farming to real estate development. I am no agricultural nor real estate development expert, but I can sense this is not necessarily a good trajectory, regardless the profit involved. I see this in the very plain and simple terms. A takeover of agricultural land by real estate means Kenya will in the long run be reduced to a nation of apartment dwellers fed with imported processed food. I find the loss of fertile soils to real estate not only irresponsibly wasteful, but also regrettably short-sighted in economic vision terms. The country's education literature is brimming with content of great pride of a country whose economic bedrock is agriculture. Much of it rain-fed, with a capacity to feed its own population and even export some of that food. We all know now that the reality is different from that literature taught in our schools, and the unchecked expansion of real estate into agricultural land is just about to make the story of Kenya's agricultural sector a tragedy in the making. Even if it were to be argued in layman terms tonight, real estate is fast becoming to agriculture what the dry season is to wildfires. And simple questions must be asked. If real estate can consume the great coffee and tea plantations in the fertile soils of central Kenya, what would stop real estate from wiping out vast plantations of tea in Kericho, or the maize and wheat bastions of Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu respectively? It worries me that the real estate expansion seems to ravage the agricultural sector and lands almost unhindered. And all it takes sometimes is mere discretion of a title owner in areas bordering urban centers, as is the case with Kiambu, Nyeri, and other places. Other times, it takes the anger of a frustrated, underpaid, and unacknowledged farmer who feels it's not really worth it toiling the soil on behalf of the country. And so tonight, I raise the red flag over this unchecked invasion of agricultural land by real estate. Far less agriculturally endowed nations such as Israel, a desert nation at that, are food secure and even export some of that food to Kenya because they understand and appreciate the value and the potential of their soil, technology aside. It presents some relief that early this week, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya moved to conduct an audit of the ailing tea sector, whose management has seen the sector leaping from one crisis to another. We have seen farmers in the tea sector uprooting their crops because they feel tea farming is no longer profitable. We ought as a nation to find it deplorable that tea, a global export product, is handled in such a callous manner. We should further find it objectionable when tea bushes are replaced by blocks of apartments whose only intended revenue is monthly rent. As it moves on the tea sector, the Ministry of Agriculture should consider long-term strategies of first securing agricultural land for the benefit of not just the present, but future generations as well, that will need that land for food production. It would be encouraging to see the same protective spirit usually reserved for forest and wildlife conservation extended to protection of fertile agricultural lands. Methods of protection, of course, vary, and I believe protection of agricultural land should be the easiest. A happy, motivated farmer who is sure of making a living through toiling of the land will keep farming sustainable now and for generations that follow. This has been proven elsewhere, where families and communities have kept their nations well-fed and food secure because of sound agricultural policies that make farming a worthwhile economic activity. It can be argued again, a happy farmer is the surest bet to keeping agricultural lands available for food production and not blocks of apartments celebrated rather prematurely as real estate development. That is my kicker.